A couple weeks ago, we embarked on a mission to keep the P0420 and P0430 codes off the dash of my Mustang. Keep that check engine light off with one of these babies. This is a spark plug non-fouler. We used 4 of these, or we would have used 4 of them, I should say, but we didn't quite have space for that, in order to keep the codes off of the car. So, did this work? Well, let's go ahead and get right into it. We're going to pull up our handy dandy, definitely not $20 Walmart Hypertech code scanner and see if we have any codes coming up on the Mustang. Spoiler alert, there is. But don't leave just yet because this is not a complete failure and I will explain why. So, notice that we have one code found is what it just said there. So we'll go ahead and read that code. So, we have P0420, and of course, I don't know why this happens, but we have 2 of the same code. You can see we cycled through it. We do have the P0420 code still, which is the catalytic converter falling below the efficiency threshold for filtering out exhaust pollutants on bank 1. But that really is the key for this still being successful. Let me explain why. So just to recap last video, we installed 2 spark plug non-foulers on the driver's side of the vehicle, and we were not able to fit both like we had planned because of the placement of the O2 sensors. They would have ended up running into each other on the passenger side of the vehicle. My apologies. And so what we got was basically 2 different attempts at spacing the O2 sensor away from the exhaust flow to keep those lights off. And by those lights, I mean those codes, the P0420 and P0430 code. So the ideal way in which we chose to do that was this. So this is a spark plug non-fouler, and as you can see, the diameter of this side of it is pretty small. And that is perfect because that can limit exhaust flow. So what we did is we took one of these. They normally come in a pack of 2, so if you have only 1 bank of O2 sensors, then that's perfect. You can just buy 1 pack of these for like $10 and you're good. But we drilled out one of them on this side to a diameter of a 1/2 inch. That was so that the O2 sensor could thread in to the threaded side here all the way through this spark plug non-fouler. And in my case, and in most cases, the O2 sensor basically stops right at the tip here. So it has to be drilled out in order to fit the O2 sensor in there. But then if you take an additional one of these spark plug non-foulers, unmodified with this restrictive hole here, and you thread that onto the end of the other spark plug non-fouler, and then you put the whole assembly into the exhaust where the O2 sensor was in the first place, you will get both space from where the O2 sensor was originally, which will help with its readings, and also exhaust restriction. And that exhaust restriction means that not as many of the pollutants in the exhaust are going to be able to make it to the sensor, and it essentially fools the sensor into believing that your exhaust is cleaner than it actually is. Now this is a popular modification for cars like mine with high flow cats, because high flow cats obviously, with them being high flow, cannot filter out quite as many of those pollutants as a factory cat would, which is more restrictive, and especially cars that are catless, don't have anything at all. Of course that's going to bring up codes because there is no cat. Of course it's going to freak out like, oh, this cat's terrible, it's not doing anything. However, this can be an issue even on bone stock cars, and we touched on this in the last video because the threshold of efficiency for catalytic converters is incredibly high. They have to be at an efficiency of, it's either 90 or I think even 95% efficient. Otherwise, the light will come on that they are basically failing and not doing their job good enough. 95% is pretty dang good, but being at only 94% efficiency could cause you to get a light to come on and bring up those codes. So this is a fix that you can do for that, like we had discussed in the previous video. If you don't understand what I was describing with the non-foulers and exactly how that worked, you can go ahead and watch the last video. I'll put it up in the cards right now. and I basically explain how to do this. And I also will mention that I did get a comment, which I had already responded to, I'm not calling this guy out or anything, that said that this is not a fix, it's a band-aid. And while I do kind of agree it's not necessarily a fix, I don't think it's fair to say that it's a band-aid, because there's not necessarily anything that is wrong with the car in a lot of cases when these codes still come up. Like I said, that efficiency threshold is incredibly high, or in my case, my car is yelling at me that my cats aren't good enough when it doesn't have factory cats. It's absolutely fine, but in my case, no, there's nothing wrong in my car, but I still have the check engine light coming up for that reason. So it's more of a modification you can do to keep that from happening, but whatever you want to call it, it is effective when you do it the way that I had originally intentioned. And this is basically exactly the result that I was expecting. I pretty much mentioned it at the end of the last video, which was that the driver's side being bank 2 with the 2 non-foulers threaded together like I had initially intentioned, there's no code. That space, in addition with that restriction of air, has meant that the reading is good. There's no codes that have come up, and that is exactly the result we were looking for. The passenger side, where we ran out of space, which to be fair, we could have run out of space on either side, but in my case, the O2 sensors are right next to each other and really close even without the spacers. I just misjudged how close they were when I started this project. That side, with only 1 non-fouler drilled out, just the additional space, which is less than that of the other side, and without the restriction, means that the light still did come up. I have driven 400 miles at this point, and that should be enough to tell you that the driver's side with the original modification as I intentioned is not going to be an issue again. So if you have 2 banks of cylinders and therefore 2 banks of O2 sensors, like my Mustang here, and you have the space to fit both of the non-foulers threaded together on each side, then I absolutely would recommend that. Go ahead and watch that previous video on how you could do that if you don't understand, like I said before, but it should work perfectly fine. If you do not have the space, then going with an actual O2 sensor 90-degree bung or something like that that will literally relocate the O2 sensors is probably a better idea, and I actually have since ordered one for the passenger side of my car to keep these codes off of the dash permanently. But if you have a car that only has 1 bank of cylinders, like a 4-cylinder, inline 6, whatever, I say 4-cylinder, an inline 4 is what I'm saying, then you should be fine. You shouldn't have as many clearance issues, I would assume, with the O2 sensor, and again, fitting those 2 spacers together should make that code go away. And that should work whether you have a factory cat that's just falling below that threshold of efficiency, whether you have high flow cats, or even if you have no cats. If you know that your car is fine and you want this light off your dashboard, doing this little modification, this little project, is a really good option. And although in a way, with the Mustang, we only achieved 50% success, I'm gonna deem it a 100% success, because had we been able to do what I actually wanted in the first place on both sides of the car, we would have no codes right now. And before I close out this video, I do want to just apologize briefly to my regular viewers of the channel that this video is kind of short and not super crazy in depth for a video that I would normally put out on a weekend, but we have a lot more stuff that should be going on soon. But things have been busy. I haven't had a ton of time to do a full super in-depth video this week. And also you may notice, wow, Colton, have you gotten smarter? No, my eyes have gotten dumber. I actually used to wear glasses pretty much the whole past, like, whatever it's been, like 9 months that I've done regular videos on this channel. I haven't worn glasses, and I don't need to. I see fine enough that I can drive without issue and stuff like that. But it is nice being able to see 20/20 vision. So here I am, glasses. If these glasses make you not want to watch my channel anymore, first of all, I'm surprised it was the glasses that did it, not like the personality or the terrible jokes. And also, good, we don't want you anyway. What sort of building just collapsed over there? I like how easily 25% of my videos is just me turning around in my garage wondering what a certain noise was. Anyway, before more noises happen that distract me because I am ADHD brain, we're gonna close out this video. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy this video, please consider subscribing to the channel and leaving this video a like, and I will see you guys all in the next one. Thank you for watching once again.